Here we go, and it is time for another sprint zone. This one's for 11/26/2024. I skipped some of the processing with Davinci, and it's a little bit of a different format, and I'm not all that happy with the Insta360 logo there, but it is what it is, and it's party time. So it's a pretty small group today, and the sky's kind of gray, and I'm happy that a lot of people, or at least this many people, turned out because it will make for a different dynamic. Not many of the supers here, with the exception that would be JC, Dr. John Croft there, with the white arrow helmet in the back, and it is go time. So Carrie and I are up front, and Carrie hasn't been around in a while, and it's his first time back, and he is perhaps a little bit down under the weather, but he's out, and we are happy to have him. Looking rearward, we see Greg and his arrow helmet, and it's nice that some of the people actually heed some of the words that I speak and get themselves all arrowed out. Got Rick in the red, the Peloton, the defunct Peloton, and you can see, and I haven't talked a lot about kit, but if Byron were here, if you look at the way his kit fits, it looks like he paid a lot of money for it. And I don't want to disrespect anybody here, but we're just using people as an example. So the gentleman in the red, known as Rick, to be known as Rick from now on throughout the video. Notice how the air somehow gets in that jacket and makes it kind of puffy. There's watts being bled off there, just saying. Anyway, back to the story. So I am up at the front with Carrie, and I didn't think the pace was blistering, but I was on my gravel bike, and it always takes a little more of a toll. 30-second power there, looks like it's 300 or so, and I didn't think I was going that hard. It could be that the power meter isn't quite calibrated, but by looking at my heart rate, I think it is, and this kind of surprised me. And throughout the melee here, and I've got 2 meters. I use my Garmin on my wrist, and then I have my Garmin 530 on the handlebars, and I was hoping to look at the handlebar and look at my Garmin performance condition. And Ron Kennedy and I talked about that for a while, and I was kind of bummed that I didn't have it. Turns out I did have it because I had both watches on, and I was at like a -3 to a -1 on this one. Not quite feeling as strong as I was on our little trek up to Estes, but good nevertheless. Drifting back to the rear, and another example of a parachute. So notice Ilka there in the white. That thing is just bleeding off watts. Look at that. It's like a parachute. And the fact that she's brought a knife to a gunfight. And yeah, I'm picking on you, Ilka, because I know you watch these and you like it when I pick on you. She's got the mountain bike helmet with the visor, got the gravel bike, and the puffy jacket. What else can we do to slow things down? And most people wouldn't notice, and I wouldn't notice, but she showed me the stainless steel water bottle. A little extra weight there, and maybe a good thing because of the microplastics. And if you haven't heard about microplastics, time to go look at that. But I'm digressing again because we're having a good time. There's Carrie looking strong, and people are starting to get organized. No one is going super hard because we do not have some of the regular supers here. Byron is not here. Ben Nelson is not here. And when those 2 are here, someone is usually feeling good. JC is here, but I think he looks upon the group with pity today and sees no real competition, as not even Scott is here. And I know Scott's not quite there in the super category yet, but he's been doing quite well on the TTH, representing the TFR people quite well. And I'm pleased to see that after the kind of farming of talent here, able to go up to the big leagues. So we're into the rotation here, and as I recall, this was actually really good. No solid attacks, everyone was working pretty hard, everyone was staying smooth and not accelerating hard, and this is kind of the way it was in the old days. And when I say the old days, is when we had the sprint zones, but when the weather turned a little foul, we would practice skill. We would practice our pace lining, and for all intents and purposes, we really didn't have a sprint zone. It was a tempo zone. And you can see how smooth this is. Look at my speed here, 20 miles an hour, drop to 19 slowly and allowing Marcelo to come to the front. Speed still pretty reasonable here as I drift back. Wolfgang looking strong on that gold opulent bike. Kerry looking over to see who's going to come through. And Brian back there, he's like a little hesitant. I don't think we're going that hard. And he's a fairly strong rider, ex-racer. But he allows Kerry to slid in there, and that's kind of good. And that's one of the reasons that I don't really like people saying last. Because sometimes you're not really last. I mean, you can say last, and it's a nice thing. But I would caution folks, always look over to make certain you are in fact last, because someone had said that to me on one of the rides and I looked back and that was not true, because one of the people past the gatekeeper decided that they wanted to jump into the fray, and that's all good. And notice how smooth it is, 19 miles an hour, no accelerations here, you know, good gaps between the riders. There's no reason to be riding 2 millimeters, you know, close to the guy in front of you. There's plenty of draft, gives you plenty of time to suck up any accelerations that we're going to have. Nice speed there, 20 miles an hour. And it looks like some of the people who were in the rotation have dropped off. You can see Rick back there with the parachute, and Kerry, you know, and this is a seasoned racer. He looks over and he goes, okay, I'm going to close this one. I'm going to sit in here. And notice how I just kind of slide over, not having to accelerate hard or anything. And that is the way the pace line should be. And this is like almost textbook. And I must say, I really enjoyed this. I'm looking at my heart rate, 161, and that's about my anaerobic threshold now. For some reason, it didn't feel that hard, but maybe it's because the supers weren't there and I'm not into the 170s like I normally have on this. So here we go. There's this little grade, jacking up the power here, 30-second power over to 300. So it is not easy, but it's not a walk in the park either. Everyone's still there. Ian riding above his station in the mix and willing to do his turn, and I like to see that. Very nice. Marcelo looking good coming through in the blue there. Rick coming through, and I like it when almost everybody is participating here. Kerry looks back, see if anybody's going to come through, and he's always willing to work. And I like to see people who are looking to always work. I don't understand why a lot of people don't want to work, because this is an out and back session. So if you do get dropped and you tried, you can get picked up on the return. And then you could work as hard as you want on the way up, either recover or whatever. But looking at the speed here, and you can see how smooth this pace line is. Between 19 and 20 miles an hour, and it doesn't really get any better than that. No crazy accelerations, and this is textbook. Everyone looking strong here. People that are participating, knowing what to do. And this is what I wish I could see in a lot of groups. But unfortunately, there's always that someone that throws the cat amongst the pigeons. And I'm not going to name any names, but there are certain riders that when they are in the group, it just wreaks chaos. But those riders are not here today. Once again, everyone is smooth here, and I wish I had really more to say here. This is almost like textbook. And I must say, refreshing that I can enjoy this. And this is the way it would be if I had strength and was in the tour. Normally when I'm doing this session, I am at my limit. And I'd have absolutely no hope of sprinting. And this is not how it would really be in racing if I was strong. It would be, I'd be at, you know, like my heart rate now in the 150s, below my anaerobic threshold, and I would still have a little bit of something for the end. Unlike normally when my heart rate's in the 170s and all I'm doing is trying to hang on. And now I can at least pretend that I am the big man, that I am at my station at equal with anybody in this group, and that I have equal chances. And this is fun. Looking around, see who's coming through. Ian decides to come and close that gap. And still the speed is nice. Look how smooth, 19, 20 miles an hour. Textbook, a thing of beauty. A thing of beauty indeed. Ian looking strong there in the HP kit. And I don't have much to say about the jackets here or anything. Everybody here has learned over the years that what they need to wear. Although that beard of Wolfgang's, I'm like, I know it's the style, like, and you look good, Wolfgang. I like the beard, but it's probably not that aerodynamic. Although it would keep you warm. Oh, and here is the surprise attack, and I for a second tried to amp it up to 400, but I did not have it. Wolfgang goes, trying to keep Carrie in check, and this was indeed a surprise. There goes Brian up the road. He's going to see if he can get on the wheel and look behind. There is no reaction whatsoever. Everybody's sitting in. Stretched out across the road a little more than I would like, but hey. And here we go. JC caught sleeping, figuring that perhaps the lullaby tempo had put himself to sleep, but now he's going to go up and join the chasers. And this was quite the surprise, and I probably should have asked Kerry for his numbers, but he had a good gap there. And I'm doing okay. My power, like, 274, 32nd. Not a walk in the park, but it looks like Kerry has got the jump, surprising everybody from the front. And that is usually not how it is done. Normally you slingshot from the rear, but perhaps using some of us as barricades, knowing that perhaps on my gravel bike I would not be able to react to any of the attacks. And there goes the gravel bike with the parachute. And there goes Rick, the flapping jackets, and I try to get on, at least to save some honor. I cannot be the last gravel bike in this one, because it'd be embarrassing. Steel water bottle, gravel bike, a mountain bike helmet. And so I reach down, and I try to pull this back. And right now it's like, should I go for it? Should I not go for it? And then at some point, at least I think I did, tried to pull this back. And looking at my instantaneous power, 360, 370, my 30-second power, 330 or so, above 300. And yes, it indeed is enough to save my honor. Getting a little bit of a draft here for a few milliseconds, enough to slingshot back, just to let them know that I had not given up and that they had not defeated me. Because I know if Ilka had finished ahead of me on this one, I'd have to hear about it. And there's my heart rate up into the 170s. Yeah. Well done. Nice job, Carrie. Nice job, everyone. And a good time was had by all. That was nice. I'm looking at the colors here, and I'm thinking, I probably should have color graded this. Made it a little bit brighter. But this is what it actually looked like. It was a somber day. Anyway, with that, peace out, everyone. A good time was had by all. A good showing. And now a word from our sponsor, Golden Cheetah. For those who would like to measure their performance and not want to pay lots of money, I would suggest getting the Golden Cheetah, and it's free. So there's my sponsorship word. I wonder how that sounded. That's kind of impromptu. Of course, this whole thing was impromptu. Anyway, peace out, everyone. Till next time.